Each week, we welcome to our NfG stage one of our highly talented members or special guests to bring you something designed to help you and your business. Our next guest was born and brought up in the east of England, enjoying the not so sleepy cathedral town of Bury-St-Edmunds and its rich and diverse range of businesses from sugar manufacturers to translation specialists. After studying mathematics and computing at university, she then began to work for consultancy companies such as PwC and IBM and PA Consulting, during which time she also developed her skills with a marketing diploma in Cambridge. Understanding the importance of conveying the right message to the audience, in 2017, she began turning her words into pure content gold, helping her customers be both understood and appreciated by their audience to stimulate engagement. With a talk about demystifying content and how to make it work for you, we bring to you that founder of Creative Words and NfG member, Cate Caruth. Good morning, Cate.
Good morning. Thank you for that, Richard. Yes, so a session on demystifying content. Plenty of people, I'm sure plenty of you in the room, are told you need to do more with your content. But what and where and how much? And what the hell is content anyway? And that's where I thought I would start, is let's start with a definition of what content is. This is one that I particularly like. Plenty of other definitions also exist. But content is anything which adds value to an audience. And I thought what I'd do today in the sort of 8 minutes that I've got is take you through a swift process to think about the value you can bring to your audience and then the ways that you can reach them. Now, this is actually based on a half-day workshop which I run to help people to actually come out with a content plan for themselves. In 10 minutes, there's not going to be time for much more than a romp through the key ideas. But at the end, I will give you a way that you can go into this further. But first, just a quick summary of how I got from where I was to where I am. When I was 3, someone asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I told them I wanted to be a cuckoo clock. I was 3. Now my dad heard that and said, oh, she's probably going to be a writer. And it was true. I was always interested in writing. I was always telling stories, playing Let's Pretend, those kinds of things. Now, for a variety of long and complicated reasons, I went to university, did a maths degree, and ended up working in cottage cheese. Now, let's be clear, not in cottage cheese. I was the planning manager in a cottage cheese factory up in Shropshire. And that then led me into firstly IT consulting, then process design consulting and change management, eventually doing a lot of work on communications. Now, all of that time as a hobby, I was writing. I self-published books, wrote charity books bespoke for children. And then in 2017, I left consulting and formed Creative Words with this concept of content alchemy to transform material into content gold. So let's have a bit of look at content. And as I said, content is anything that adds value to an audience. Think of it as a triangle, or as I've done here, a Venn diagram. And what I thought we could do is unpick these 3 by a bit of myth busting. So let's start with myth number 1 that people often feel when it comes to content. You see, content does not need to be universal. Because let's face it, the man who mows lawns for a living really isn't going to care one bit about my blog on content for the food industry. And I'm not going to try and appeal to him for that. So it doesn't have to appeal to everybody, but you do need to know who you are appealing to. And that's why I put audience at the top of that triangle. Because if you don't know who, what you end up with is fairly generic content that's trying to reach everybody and actually doesn't really reach anybody. But it's not just about your customer either. There are all sorts of audiences for what you do. And here are some examples. You might have a customer, the community that your office is based in. You'll have a team of people working with you. You might have hobbyists. If you're a photographer, for example, as a professional, you can reach out to the hobbyist market in order to share value with them. You might be an end user or a supplier. There's lots and lots of different examples. And one that I think is a good one to illustrate this is, let's suppose you're the manager of a football team that runs kids football, and you want to buy football shirts. So you're the customer to the print company, the end user is the child, the person who is connected is the parent. So that gives you an idea about how those interrelations work. So after this session, you can spend 5 minutes listing all of the different audiences where you might need to reach out and be specific for your business. So not just say connected people, but actually who are they and how are they connected? So that's our audience. Now the second step in this is about knowing what they value, which leads us to myth number 2. That valuing is all about money, and that's not true. There's all sorts of things that people find valuable. They like to be entertained and amused and educated and informed. They like a wow factor. And sometimes it's about alignment between what you value and what they value as well. So with that kids football team, when it's mum and dad, who are our connected audience, what they want is how to wash the football kit without turning their entire laundry bright green. That's something that they will find of value, but it's specific to that audience. 10-year-old John, who plays football, doesn't really care what colour the laundry turns out, but he does care that he looks cool in his new football shirt. So all of those are different things that add value to your different audiences. Then we have to think about that anything bit. And this is myth number 3 that often comes up, which is that all my content has to be written. It needs to be a blog or an article or an email. And yes, of course, that's all content. But also, it could be something else that adds value. Anyone else, anyone here feeling just a bit better about content right now? So actually having a one-to-one, sitting with someone and having a conversation is content, as long as you are adding value. Just talking about last night's football, that's not. But something that adds value to them, sharing your wisdom, understanding their business and offering ways that you can support and help them, that's actually good quality content, because it's building a relationship, it's building something with your audience, and content is all about those relationships. Here are some of the classic examples. Your 60 seconds is content when it comes to networking. The follow-up phone call you make to somebody after you've sent them an email, that's content. Your CV, people don't even think about their CV as content, but take a look at it. Sometimes you need to use it. It's content. It needs to add value to your audience. So is that it? Job done? Well, no, not quite, because for many, many people, there's one other myth that pops up that can be a big, big sticking point. And it's this one, that you feel you don't have anything new to say. But here's the thing, your perspective is valuable. Sharing something from somewhere else is valuable to your audience. Now, that does not mean you can rip off other people. That's just theft. Don't take someone else's blog and just reuse it. But you could take their blog and share it and put a comment to it saying, I thought this was a really interesting article. Here's my take on it. That's content. That's adding value to your audience. It doesn't need to be absolutely unique and original. So that is a very, very fast gallop through all of this content. So what I wanted to do, because as I say, this is a half-day workshop, is give you access. There is an online version of this training course called Demystifying Content. It's on my website. You just go to creativewords.cc and use the coupon code N4G when you check out, and you'll get it for free. So I wanted to give you that as access as Networking for Good members and visitors. Are there any questions?